MPs, or at least some of them, met for talks yesterday to debate the controversial cuts proposed for our county's fire and rescue service, currently under consultation, of course. The meeting was the idea of the Tory MP for Bosworth, David Tredinnick, who joins us now. Morning, David.
Good morning.
Morning. So who attended the meeting then yesterday?
7 out of 9 city and county members, and the other 2 sent representatives. So we had the whole county represented around the table. We met for 2 hours. We looked at all aspects of this issue. But the fact is there will have to be savings in Leicestershire. And given the appraisal of the requirements that's been undertaken over the 5 years, over the last 5 years, it is, in my view, possible to reallocate resources so that they can tackle fires more effectively. We now have a better footprint. The Hinckley station is a particular concern to me, and there are concerns about the second tender. However, we do have a brand new fire station there, and I have to tell you that I've only received 4 emails and letters combined about this issue. So the public are not quite as concerned about this as the Fire Brigades Union.
That's interesting to hear, because we've heard so far that since the consultation opened, 1,400 responses and 13 freedom of information requests have been submitted by members of the public to the consultation so far, which perhaps suggests otherwise in terms of response.
Well, many of those would be. I mean, there is concern, but many of those would have been an organised lobby. I'm not saying there isn't concern, but I'm just saying that I haven't had the level of correspondence I would have expected. That it is possible to resolve this issue, and we talked about many issues, including for the city members, the central fire station, which is on the list for possible reduction or closure. The Fire Authority made it clear that in their view, a cluster of fire stations around the city gave more effective cover of the centre of the city, enabling fire engines to get in from 3, 4 or 5 locations within the 10-minute framework. In Hinckley, we can get 3 tenders within 10 minutes into the centre of Hinckley. So that's coming from Atherstone and Nuneaton. So there are options out there, and I don't think the public should be frightened of these proposals. There will have to be changes, but we will get a better fire service, in my view, in the end.
You did say, though, that you believe the current resources could be deployed better. So, I mean, do you at least go along with the letter of the proposals as they stand, or do you think there do need to be changes made to them?
Well, this is a consultation exercise, and it was very interesting having the whole county represented round a table, with every single member of Parliament represented. And I think that was a helpful meeting for the Fire Authority. It was certainly a helpful meeting for us. And I believe a lot of good will come out of this. The proposals are subject to consultations, I've said. Some of the things that really worried me was the inability to cooperate with other fire authorities. I understand that the proposal to get control rooms combined or better liaison between Leicestershire and Nottinghamshire have not gone well. There are issues about redeployment of firefighters who will no longer be needed. I understand that Derbyshire refused point blank to even entertain taking any of Leicestershire's firemen. There are issues about resources of other authorities such as the ambulance service, the police. Personally, I think the way forward in the medium to long-term future is to have shared police, fire and ambulance facilities, as takes place in many parts of the country, and I think this is happening in northwest Leicestershire now. We have to have a much more integrated emergency services in the county, and this is possible, and this is really where we're moving. We also looked at the headquarters building, and clearly that either has to be let or there has to be some return on that half-empty building. So a lot of things came up at the meeting.
Do you mean central there, not the headquarters at Birstall?
No, I mean the headquarters building.
Right.
I think it's at Birstall, from memory.
Well, I understood that to be working to capacity, but to your knowledge, it's about half empty, is it?
I think the headquarters building is not full. I think there are plans to fill it with other agencies.
Right.
But the issue of whether it's a good idea to get capital receipts and sell that building did come up.
It's not a huge surprise, David, to hear you supporting effectively a Tory government's commitment to cutting public spending in terms of reshaping these public services. But there is a great deal of public concern. People are worried, particularly about the closure of Central and the loss of 11 engines, for example, around the region, and up to 90 redundancies. Yeah. So I suppose, is the message that you are actually listening to these concerns?
I'm actually supporting the county of Leicestershire, and that's why I got all members of Parliament from all parties together. There are reductions in spending across the country to try and get more people back into work and reduce taxation. That is a general policy, and we won the general election on that basis. The fire requirements are constantly moving. There's been a reduction of 42% of fires in the county over the last 10 years. In the last 5 years, 1/3 of all calls have been reduced. So there's a much better safety ethic out there. People understand that. People are much better educated. The equipment's much better.
We don't want to leave ourselves exposed. This is the problem, do we?
Well, you're not going to be left exposed. There has to be a modernisation and rationalisation. And what we're trying to do is to get Leicestershire a safe and efficient fire service, and your members of Parliament are playing their part.
David, thank you for joining us this morning. That's the Conservative MP for Bosworth, David Tredinnick, who chaired this meeting yesterday.